And welcome back to AWS On Air live at the DC Summit. My name's Chad Lacey. I'm a global sales strategist at AWS, and I'm joined with my good friend.
Hey everyone, my name is Aaron Hunter. I'm a senior technical trainer with AWS Training and Certification. And with us, we have...
Hey everyone, my name is Bobby Hallahan. I'm a senior specialist solutions architect with AWS Observability, covering CloudWatch, X-Ray, Amazon Managed Prometheus, Grafana, and the AWS distro for OpenTelemetry.
Fantastic. So Bobby, I understand we're here, we're going to talk about AI ops.
Yes, that's right.
But before we get into that, can you tell us what are some of the latest trends you're seeing in IT ops in general?
Yeah, sure. So normally when we speak to customers about IT ops and AI ops, we like getting some solid definitions down. So when we think of AI ops, or specifically IT ops that is, we like to break it down into three categories. Mostly looking at release management, incident management, and then general monitoring and observability. So with all of those things, you have, I guess what I like to call output signals. So when we think of observability, right, you have input, output signals. We gauge the health of either a workload, application, your operations by being able to measure those states or those output signals. So now when we think of how well, right, if we bring this back down to like operational excellence, how well are we operating our workloads? We need to be able to have those data points to measure it. So generally speaking, when we look at IT operations, there's a variety of different activities that fall under that. But then from there, we need a way to essentially be able to measure that. Because if we can't measure it, we can't necessarily improve on it.
Yeah, and the end goal of AI ops or even IT ops is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just to get, you mentioned the operational excellence, is to get more efficient, to have your uptime, just to be more predictable around your operations, right?
Exactly. So when we think of AI ops, and more specifically today, let's say versus 5 or 10 years ago, modern applications, you have distributed architectures, ephemeral workloads, you even have culture changes. So with the proliferation of DevOps cultures, you have more and more frequent releases, you have much smaller teams, more agile teams, they're developing and releasing at a much quicker pace. With that, right, so if we take quicker releases, smaller teams, much more applications, as well as the types of applications. These aren't monoliths anymore. We're looking at distributed, ephemeral resources. There's so many more data points to be able to look at, and in some cases that can be somewhat challenging to be able to improve on that from an operational perspective, or at least get visibility into that. And that's kind of where AI ops starts to come into play.
Fantastic, I like it. Yeah. So let's talk about where in AI ops AWS has a play.
Yeah, excellent. So when we look at AI ops, we want to think of, I spoke about all those different output signals, right? So all the things that come out from our IT operations, right? Deployments, releases, any types of logs or metrics that we have access to within the application itself. We want to take a look at any of the, type of events that we're logging on our data plane, like from either config or CloudTrail. And we want to be able to measure those. And something like AI ops, what it's able to do is we take in all of those input signals and we want to be able to see where, if there's anomalous behavior, or if there's any errors, or if there's places to improve. So a couple places where we have that, one specifically is, hopefully most people are already aware of this, is CloudWatch anomaly detection, right? Where we have a single time series, and then we can throw an anomaly detection model on that. And what that allows you to do is be able to better measure on metrics or SLOs where a static threshold just won't do, right? You need to have an upper and lower bound and be able to alarm and react to it.
So I'm gonna pause there for just a second. Explain SLO to me.
Yeah. So SLO being a service level objective.
Okay.
So as a service owner, when I build a service or I build an application, what I want to be sure of is that this is essentially my goal or desired state. Different from an SLA, where that SLA is the more so the contractual agreement with our end customers. Where an SLO is, that's my desired state of this is where we want to be, essentially.
Right. And so I would also imagine, as you're doing some of the operations, you were talking about, throwing signals, throwing alarms.
Yeah.
There's probably a good degree that we can automate reaction too, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when it comes down to, when we think of AI ops, there's part of it where we're being able to take in all these input signals, react, and expose anomalous behavior. But then another part of it is, how do we take that one step further? Instead of manual remediation, start bringing in recommended suggestions to make. So for example, let's say we need to update an auto-scaling group, or maybe there's some sort of remediation actions we can take through an automation event in Systems Manager, for example.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about a demo? I heard
Sure.
you have a demo.
I do have a demo. So let's go right in. And what we're going to look at today, and in today's demo is we have a pet adoption website here. So relatively simple application. We have an ALB, EKS running on EC2, some ECS clusters running on top of Fargate, step functions with Lambda, API gateway, Lambda, and Dynamo.
Does that say pet site?
Yeah, it's a pet
I
site.
love pets.
So
Cats and dogs?
oh yeah, cats, dogs, bunnies.
Lovely, lovely.
Let's go ahead and check it out.
hey, there we go.
Yeah, there we
There they
go.
are.
Look at that.
So relatively straightforward website, right? We can search for pets, take me home, and
Who wouldn't want to take that dog?
I know.
I
So cute.
know. And there we go, adopt an animal. So relatively straightforward application. And let's take a look at some of the dashboards we put together to give us a better idea when we're talking about AI ops. So one of these we're taking a look at is a CloudWatch custom dashboard. And what this gives us is an overview of, we're using text widgets in here. This is a common dashboarding practice that I obviously don't see enough of. So just word to the wise, if you ever are dashboarding and you're building dashboards, it may be self-evident to you what those widgets are for, but for the person that might get paged at 2 a.m., make sure there's some contextual text there to help them know what's going on. But yeah, let's take a look at a couple of these widgets. So here what we're looking at is actually widgets from DevOps Guru. So what DevOps Guru is doing is we're taking in, like I mentioned, all these output signals. So we're taking a look at metrics correlated from any resource in a CloudFormation stack. So that application, all of those resources were deployed from CloudFormation. DevOps Guru is now looking at all of those metrics and looking for anomalous behavior within them. Then what it does, it's actually giving us insights on when something happens.
Okay.
So what we're taking a look at here is actually a custom Lambda widget. And what we're doing with that is we created in short, a Lambda function to call a describe API to give us back any insights back here right on our CloudWatch dashboard. So if you are using dashboards, do check out the Lambda custom widgets because now it's not just metrics, it's not just logs, it's not just alarms. Any AWS API call you can make or any other API call you want to make, you can now put on a dashboard. If you can render it with HTML and you can do it with Lambda, now it's on a CloudWatch dashboard.
Fantastic.
That's cool.
Incredibly
Yeah, that's very
awesome. Yep, so if we scroll down a little bit more here, we can see, right, we have some time series. We're looking at our target response time from our different ALBs. And we can see where we have specifically like static thresholds overlaid with anomaly detection bands, hopefully to help illustrate where anomaly detection can help and maybe where it may not be as helpful. Specifically, if we take our attention to this bottom right widget here, we can see we had a spike recently, or somewhat recently, back on the 19th. Obviously, that crosses a threshold. Something is wrong. We should know about it. We should do something. However, if we take a look at this other later spike, that didn't cross the threshold, but potentially something could be wrong and it's something we need to address.
Right.
This is where anomaly detection, where we can see it actually does highlight in red and exposes that as an anomalous behavior and we need to do something about it.
So you don't need a threshold.
Huh?
At that point, you don't need a threshold.
No,
because
not anymore.
Anomaly detection's kind of picking all that up for you.
Exactly. And then what's great about it is
Awesome.
the model, it will learn over time. It will adapt to any type of seasonality within our application as well.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to see where the AI ops comes in to the IT ops.
Exactly.
That's cool.
It can see what we can't.
Right.
Yeah. Now, let's take this one step further and take a look at what we're taking a look at here is from DevOps Guru. So right in the DevOps Guru console here, this is an insight from DevOps Guru. And what I want to show here is instead of, right, we're looking at single time series. So we know those are metrics, those are KPIs we want to look at. However, what AI Ops really helps us do is answer that unknown. So what do I have, but I don't necessarily know I should be looking at? And this is what DevOps Guru does incredibly well. There's a term we use in observability called MTTD, or mean time to detect. How long from when an issue starts to when do we finally actually detect it? Something like DevOps Guru, specifically in the realm of AI Ops, is incredibly valuable here because it's looking at, let's say, we can see 504s from AOBs, 5XXs, and target transaction error count. In this case, they're all coming from the ALB namespace, but it can also take a look at metrics from other services and combine them together and expose an anomalous behavior for us. So let's say, and what's really neat about this is it will pull in any related events from CloudTrail, and it will also give us recommendations. So when this event happens, we publish that out to EventBridge, and then as an end customer, you can consume that however you'd like to, with a recommendation, and you can say, is this actually a problem or not?
Wow.
Wow.
I can see this is how it's really going to save a lot of people time. I mean, I remember back in the day running 3 tilted web apps in a data center, and we were hunting down problems forever. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, and really where I think a powerful part of this is in the correlation with CloudTrail events. So then if there is some sort of event, you can now see something changed, we picked up an anomaly, here's the impacted services, and here's the level of impact. So yeah, that's one of the ways to do it. DevOps Guru is in one click, essentially, to enable. And you target either resources that are shared by specific AWS tags or anything launched by CloudFormation. So incredibly easy to get started.
Nice.
I wish they had this years ago.
I know.
It would have saved me a lot of troubleshooting time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my previous role before working as a solution architect, I was in AWS support. And there were a lot of times where I wish we had something like this.
Yeah. Troubleshooting ELB 504 errors, AIOps just would simplify the whole thing for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of 3 a.m. phone calls, pouring through logs, trying to figure out where the needle in the haystack was.
Those 3 a.m. phone calls.
Yeah, it always happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
Oh yeah. So another capability we have from an AIOps perspective is, this is from X-Ray. So where DevOps Guru is taking a look at data from not only CloudWatch metrics, CloudTrail, config, and RDS performance insights, we have a similar capability here with X-Ray Insights, where we're taking a look at all the related trace information from our X-Ray traces. So if we do instrument our application with any type of distributed tracing, we can leverage X-Ray Insights today to give a similar capability in being able to find, let's say, duration of event, if it's a fault, and how long it took. So let's say if we take a look at a specific event here, we can see it gives us our overall service map. It shows us
a lot like X-Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows us where specifically in our application it failed, so what component failed, and then it will give us an overall idea of the impact. And now what's even neat about this, if we go to inspect it, what this is actually now generating for us is a service map in X-Ray for that specific time range.
Wow.
So now before, if I go back and I view X-Ray, I get my service map from during that event, or during the real time, but now it's taking us essentially a capture for us of that specific event.
That's really, really cool.
That is very cool.
You have a comment in the chat. Looks like it's on LinkedIn, and it said, really cool demo and cute. It's talking
Awesome.
about the pets, I'm sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And then one other thing to take a look at is if you have want to take a look at any type of like custom widgets ever, I do want to quickly show how easy that is to do.
Yeah, please.
So this is actually a getting started widget. I started from there's a drop down for like describe EC2 instances. So it'll give you a table of EC2 instances running in your account. I'm not a professional developer, but I was able to get this working with DevOps Guru pretty easily by copying and pasting and changing out a couple things.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the entry point in our function. Right. So we have
after my own heart. Not a developer, but still writing code.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Now, what we can do is try our exports handler here, and let's take a look at our custom widget. So we have our widget context, which gives us information about the time range in the dashboard, anything about the region. We create a DevOps Guru client, a CloudWatch client, and then we actually do a get insights. So we have our widgets, start and end time, and get insights. And all we're doing is Guru list insights, and then we just iterate over that. We return it back to our function, which is going to go return get HTML output. So then we're adding those insights, and now it's just as simple as looping through each insight. So for each insight, just render our HTML table. Relatively straightforward. I just had to copy, paste, replace a few things, and it was relatively easy. If you're looking to get started, we have plenty of blueprints for custom widgets that can do just about anything.
Cool, that's really cool. We have a question from the chat. It says, are there any recommended features to be enabled with AIOps?
Yeah, so if you're using and operating on AWS today, I would strongly suggest checking out DevOps Guru. Like I mentioned, it's one-click enable. You can have it look at all the resources in your account or target it to a specific CloudFormation stack or specific tags. So maybe take a look at maybe like a non-prod workload, enable DevOps Guru for those specific tags, and just take a look at what insights you're getting. And ask yourself, is this valuable? And would this save us time the next time we have an operational event?
And tagging is so critical for the well-architected framework also as part of the operational excellence pillar, right?
Oh yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So AIOps falls right inside that pillar.
Yeah, and not just from like operational excellence, but then as we're thinking of when we pull this back into well-architected, we want to think, where does this fall into security or performance efficiency? What other types of lenses or use cases could we apply this to? So right now with DevOps Guru, it's really down into operational excellence, but there's a lot of other use cases for AI ops going forward in the future.
It's really cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we've got just about a minute left, maybe a little bit more. I want to make sure we give you time. Like, is there anything you absolutely want to make sure everybody knows about this before we take off?
Yeah, I would say with, honestly, I think I already said it.
Okay.
The main one I would say is definitely reiterate the ease of getting started with DevOps Guru. It's, like you said, it's a one-click experience. You click what you want to use and ask yourself, like, is this valuable? Take a look at those insights it's generating. You don't need to use it from the console. There's the console experience here, which we built and it's pretty well. But then you can also do it in CloudWatch dashboards, or since every insight is being fed through EventBridge, you can consume that however you'd like. Right? An EventBridge target can go to a variety of places.
Right. And like we spoke before, you can automate a lot of these responses as well, or take the manual action to correct whatever's going on.
Exactly. And the big thing to think of is it's iterative, right? So we don't need to be all the way there on day one. Look at what we're getting value from. Can we double down on that? Are we making continuous improvements on it? So worth experimenting.
And the AI is always learning in the background as well. It's getting smarter as the application continues to run.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you showing this off. It was really some powerful information. I know you probably helped a lot of people out there save some time on those 3 a.m. phone calls and hopefully avoid having to get out of bed altogether. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.